young, I always make sure to mention or pull up clips from old school wrestling moments. Iconic stuff like Stone Cold versus Booker T in a grocery store, Mankind McFoley getting tossed off Hell in a Cell, Shawn Michaels with his sweet chin music where he goes backstage and super kicks like five innocent dudes, all of whom just eat shit on concrete. It is amazing. It was just such an impactful part of my childhood. I'm actually pretty sure my first celebrity crush ever was Stacy Keibler, though I'm sure every man on the planet also had that same crush during this era. And it wasn't just, WWE and all that. Backyard wrestling, I got very big into. I used to get like these bootlegged VHS tapes of backyard wrestling performances. They even had a backyard wrestling game that went to the Xbox at one point, and that game had a like behind the scenes moment where there was like a vagina that got shown for a split second, and that was the first time I ever saw a pussy in my life. Point is, wrestling was very big for me in my formative years. And I've been wanting to recapture that magic. I've been watching some WWE, some AEW, and while I still like both of those, there's just something missing. And I thought, why not combine the old Attitude Era wrestling with backyard wrestling scuff goofiness? So we thought, let's just fucking let it rip. So the title's not clickbait. The WWE is in huge trouble because we've created our own wrestling league, the Moist Wrestling League, the MWL, and we've already filmed our first episode. And I've got to tell you, it's a masterpiece. If this doesn't win awards, then the entire system is flawed. It's all rigged. It's corrupt from top to bottom. Because this is true art. This is why video cameras were invented, to capture what we did about a week ago. It is an amazing, amazing pilot. It goes up tonight at 8 p.m. EST, and I wanted to make this video just to kind of announce it and explain why, because dropping this bad boy cold turkey into the wild would just be a disservice to the craft. So our first match is between Chainsaw and Dow Jones. Now, I want to make it clear, I am a fan of CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling. I am very familiar with it and have been for quite some time. I know for a lot of people when they hear backyard wrestling, their mind kind of defaults to CZW and the brutality of it. And that's just a little too extreme for us right now. We don't have the capabilities of doing what CZW does with like fucking flaming sledgehammers and like blasting ass the way they do. It's not going to be like CZW. For those that don't know, CZW is like actual fucking death matches. Like this is some shit out of Mad Max. Like it is still like wrestling, but they use like weed whackers and actually just hit themselves with it. They fly through glass, do like atomic pile drivers from the top of buildings onto concrete, onto beds of nails, hit each other with baseball bats, a barbed wire. It's fucking intense. It's hype. But that we can't really integrate into the Moist Wrestling League. And also, it's not us wrestling, it's not like me versus Matt or anything like that. We actually got real local wrestlers to participate, so they're actually good at it, so it's not like super embarrassing with us doing like geriatric maneuvers. It's like wrestling. So we wanted to kick off the MWL with a very simple plotline and characters for our pilot episode, though we do have a lot written and brainstormed for future storylines that are deep and outrageous. Like it puts Game of Thrones to shame with the complex narrative we're weaving here with the MWL. Now for episode 1 here, we've kicked it off with a grudge match, Chainsaw vs. Dow Jones. Now as the name would have you believe, Chainsaw is an angel. He's a soft-spoken sweetheart who's just an all-around upstanding citizen and just an invaluable member of his community. He donates to local shelters. He only shops at local businesses, and he's even a frequent volunteer at the soup kitchen because he just wants to do his part to make the community a better place for everyone. But unfortunately, Chainsaw was dealt a bit of a bad hand. He lost his wife and his house in the 2008 recession, and he's never fully recovered from it. Chainsaw fully blames the stock market for everything that went wrong in his life, and unfortunately, he doesn't subscribe to forgiveness. So he has no mercy for the stock market and is looking to finally avenge all of the loss he suffered at its hands in 2008. And last week, we gave him that opportunity, where he'd go toe-to-toe with the stock market itself, Dow Jones. Dow Jones is a cocky man. He's a bad guy. He's absolutely the heel here, and they duked it out. It's a very standard match in a ring, but we do plan on branching this out into wackier venues and shit. We do plan on doing things like the WWE used to do, where like you know, Vince McMahon's in a hospital bed and Stone Cold is pretending to be the nurse and then starts wailing on his broken leg, shit like that. I'd love to get to a point where we can go to just crazy places and do wild little matches. Like, go to a real prison and we have, like, two bad dudes squaring off, fucking Megor versus Thorgor. And it's a death row match where the loser gets thrown into an electric chair. So they're, like, fighting each other around the electric chair. And instead of a pin, they're like flipping switches, so like 1 flip, 2, and then 3's the electric chair. Like, just outrageous shit. Obviously, it wouldn't be real electric chair, life or death or anything. But I just love the idea of just getting outrageously wacky with it. The beauty of Attitude Era and Backyard Wrestling is it's just anything goes. Like, anything could work. If we did that electric chair thing and we play off like, oh man, Megor is dead, well then 2 weeks from there, like a Royal Rumble, we could have a necromancer come in and bring him back to life and work him like a fucking puppet in the ring or something. Like, I just love the freedom of just going absolutely hog wild with wrestling, and that's the entire design of the Moist Wrestling League. And we wanted to start off small, of course, so our first production, our first match that goes up today, is very bare bones. We ran it very skinny, but it's only going to get bigger and better from here. Hopefully you all like it. We're extremely excited about it and had a ton of fun putting it on. We'd also like to eventually tour with it if we get to a point where it's like actually popular and people get excited about it. So yeah, this is just kind of my brief little Shark Tank pitch to all of you about MWL, the Moist Wrestling League. We've got quite a few more matches planned out in our heads, as well as general ideas on other wild shit we can do with the concept. So, yeah, just hope all of you enjoy it. Again, it goes up at 8 p.m. EST tonight, so about, like, 5-ish hours from the time this video goes up. So, yeah. And since we're just here shooting this shit, I'll also announce one more thing that I keep getting asked about. When does Issue 3 of Godslap release? It comes out on March 8th. So, Issue 3 of Godslap is coming out March 8th. Per usual, standard cover, 2 variants that'll only ever be a limited supply, so once those are sold out, they're gone forever. Issue 3 Godslap's right around the corner, so March 8th, mark your calendar on that. It's just 5 days away for that puppy. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya.
I have to admit, I've had a bit of a rocky relationship with Jordan Peele movies over the years. He's a man who clearly doesn't lack for ideas and creativity, but he seems so enamoured with his grand concepts and social commentary that he tends to forget about weaving them into a believable and consistent narrative. Get Out was a decent horror movie with an inventive premise that explored contemporary political issues in an entertaining way. On the other hand, Us was a visually striking film with excellent performances, let down by a muddled and meandering script that didn't make a lick of sense if you applied logic to it, and seemed to be reaching for big ideas about American society without really knowing how to get them across properly. So I wasn't exactly thrilled about watching Nope, the third movie in his horror trilogy, when it came out last year. I did my best to avoid reviews at the time, and now that I finally have seen it, I found myself genuinely torn on this one. On the one hand, Nope is an ambitious and often inventive movie with fun and interesting characters that manages to do the unexpected and delivers some individually striking and haunting moments, but on the other, the plot has only a tenuous grasp of reality, and its ideas and themes are the most muddled and nebulous of all of his movies. The film stars Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer as brother and sister OJ and M. Haywood, a pair of horse trainers supplying animals for the movie industry. The siblings run the family business now after their father was mysteriously killed on his ranch when small objects suddenly started raining down from the sky. Keep that one in mind because it's going to be important later. Anyway, the two of them are basically polar opposites in terms of personality. M is upbeat, extroverted and charismatic, while OJ is sullen, quiet and troubled. A mishap on the set of their latest movie causes them to lose their lucrative contract, forcing them to sell some of their animals to a nearby fairground just to keep the business running. And if that wasn't bad enough, the ranch comes under attack one night by an unseen predator that steals some of their horses, consumes them and then drops the remains on the ground all around the farm. Kind of like what happened to their father. OJ's convinced that it's an alien spaceship of some kind, and the two of them set out to gather video evidence of it, which they plan to sell to the news media for massive profits. Nice plan. Unfortunately, their attacker is one step ahead, and every time it shows up, it generates some kind of weird electromagnetic pulse that disables anything electrical. So needless to say, digital cameras aren't much use here. The stakes get raised dramatically when the predator attacks the nearby fairground and consumes everyone in it. Which raises the rather obvious question, what the fuck even is this thing if it's not an alien spaceship? Well, whatever it is, it's getting more aggressive and territorial, leaving M and OJ with a simple choice. Do they cut and run, or make a stand and take it head on? Like I said earlier, Jordan Peele movies are very much focused on their themes and ideas, sometimes at the expense of logic and consistency. Get Out was all about discrimination and racism, Us was focused more on the class and wealth divide in American society, while Nope is, well, a bit more open to interpretation. If I was going to be generous, I'd say that it's a film about our collective obsession with spectacle, money making and exploitation, especially when it comes to media. The more news of the attacks begin to spread, the more people show up hoping to get something out of it, whether it's tabloid news reporters eager for a scoop, or famous cinematographers chasing the perfect shots at any cost, or even OJ and M themselves looking to capture proof of aliens to make them rich. Everyone's out for themselves, willing to take insane risks for the chance at fame and success, usually to their costs. But there's also an interesting subtext here about the exploitation of animals and the arrogant human belief that they can be bent to our will. The main narrative is intercut with flashbacks to a kids' TV show in the 1990s where a trained chimpanzee went nuts and killed several cast members. It's a haunting scene that's both horrific and weirdly tragic, a frightened and confused animal pushed beyond its limits by people who don't understand or care about it. And yet, the lone survivor of the incident also ends up exploiting the tragedy as a kind of cheap carnival sideshow, charging people to visit his own personal museum to the event. He even believes he can tame and control the creature in Nope, luring it in with animal sacrifices in the hopes of turning it into a tourist attraction. So basically what I'm saying here is that thematically, there's quite a lot going on in Nope if you care to look beneath the surface. Shit man, it's got more going on than about 90% of the sludge coming out today, so props for that. The only problem though is that getting there means turning off the logic and common sense parts of your brains for the majority of the film. For example, how and why does a living creature generate an electromagnetic field? How does it generate a persistent cloud that doesn't move with the winds? Where does it come from, and how has it avoided detection all this time, even with the cloud to hide it? Wouldn't such a massive flying object show up on radar somewhere? Why does nobody try shooting the thing down? I mean, I'm pretty sure ranchers living in the middle of nowhere should at least have a few rifles to hand, and a dead body would be a lot more compelling evidence than a low-res picture that could have been faked. Why wouldn't the main characters call in the police and government when the scale and nature of the threat becomes clearly obvious? I mean, I'm pretty sure an F-22 would make short work of this fucking thing. Why does it turn into a giant flying jellyfish for the climactic battle when it never had to do that before? Why does it only attack people who look directly at it? Needless to say, the answer to all these questions is don't know. And I guess that's the frustrating thing about Jordan Peele movies. He's always reaching for big compelling ideas and mysteries, but he doesn't seem to have the writing skill or the patience to create a solid narrative foundation for them to sit on. Or he just doesn't give a fuck. But the bigger his thematic ambitions get with each movie, the higher he tries to reach and the more unstable his platform becomes. And it's a shame really, because most other aspects of the film are really solid. Kaluuya and Palmer both do great jobs in their lead roles. They've got good chemistry together and play well off each other. Neither one really emerges as the dominant force. They're both just well-written characters with their own strengths and weaknesses, played by competent actors. Stephen Ewan gives a surprisingly nuanced performance as Ricky, a former child actor running a local fairground. He's not exactly an evil guy, but he's more of a cynical businessman willing to exploit personal tragedy for profit. And damn, it's always nice to see Michael Wincott getting decent roles. He's not a huge player in the movie, but he dominates every scene that he's in, and his gravelly voice is always awesome to listen to. The cinematography, soundtrack and production design are all excellent. The nighttime scenes have a great sense of eeriness and slowly building tension and dread. The idea of an isolated home under siege by an unknown enemy, and the flashbacks to the kids' TV show are riveting stuff. Peele also seems to have a good sense of levity in his films, knowing just when to sprinkle in a little humour to break the tension and lighten the tone after a particularly heavy sequence, and Nope is no different. Ultimately, despite my criticisms, I have to admit there's plenty to recommend this film, and in a time of mindless CGI blockbusters and tired superhero flicks, I can definitely appreciate a movie with a bit more to say for itself. The big frustration for me though is that Jordan Peele's ambition as a filmmaker tends to exceed his ability to get his ideas across, and the more ambitious his movies get, the wider that gap is becoming. I don't know, it feels like he needs someone to help distill those ideas down into a manageable narrative. Either way, I kind of see Nope as more of a collection of individually promising elements that don't quite fit together into a cohesive end product. It's not the worst thing you'll ever see, and with a bit more work it could have been hammered into something truly excellent, but as it stands, it's more of a diamond in the rough than a perfectly cut gem. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
The core of the argument is the channel, and I always get the name wrong, so I'm not going to bother. But the channel I've been a fan of for a while is apparently funded by billionaires. So they're making the argument that they do less. What's the right way of phrasing it?
Hey everybody! Before we get started, I want to let you know we're having the second annual Dead Meat Horror Awards this year. They were a hit last year, so we've decided to do them again, bigger and better. They'll be premiering on the channel on Sunday, March 26th. We'll have lots of cool presenters again, another awesome montage, and 3 new awards we're giving out, including a fan favorite. Hope to see you there, I can't wait for them. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Scream from 2022. Hey, 1996 called. It wants its title back. After Wes Craven's passing in 2015, the Scream film franchise seemed done. There were a few seasons of a show on MTV, but while it shared the name and eventually the Ghostface mask, it was entirely disconnected from the movies. No Woodsboro, no Stab franchise, no Sidney or Gal or Dewey. It was its own thing. 5 years ago, I said I was fine with no more Scream films getting made. I hope they never make a Scream 5 since Wes Craven wouldn't be involved, but if they do, you know I'll cover it on the Kill Count. But then I saw the news that the 5th film would be made by Radio Silence. Radio Silence is a filmmaking group consisting of directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, and producer Chad Villella. I'm a huge fan, especially since they got their start making videos on YouTube under the name Chad, Matt, and Rob. From that, they went on to make one of the best segments in VHS, and in 2019, Ready or Not, one of my favorite horror films that year. It perfectly blended horror and comedy, making them an ideal match for Scream. Full disclosure though, I have become friends with those boys. When the Ready or Not kill count got blocked from a copyright claim, they personally messaged me as fans of Dead Meat and helped get the claim released. They then came to our apartment for an interview on the podcast, and even attended our wedding last year. And of course, they asked Chelsea and I to do a favor for them, which wound up being a cameo in this movie. Obviously, my commentary will be biased, but I'll still proudly say this movie rules. As with all Scream films, Part 5 functions as excellent commentary on the horror genre. A decade after Scream 4, there was plenty of new material to comment on. At the forefront, the idea of requels, which is why Scream 2022 has its simplified title, and isn't called 5 Cream or whatever. It's a meta reference to legacy sequels, like Halloween 2018 and Candyman 2021. Though these films have the same name as their original installments, they're not remakes or reboots, like the movie Scream 4 commented on. Instead, they're new timelines for the series, serving as direct follow-ups to the original and ignoring the sequels that came between, sometimes even outright contradicting them.
Wasn't it her brother?
No, that's just a bit that some people made up to make him feel better, I think.
Prequels often bring back characters from the first film, while introducing new ones to follow in future entries. The appeal of a requel was its simplicity. Audience members can watch one without doing homework to understand what's going on. Scream 5, which I'll still call it, they're not fooling anyone, isn't a strict requel since the previous sequels are still canon and referenced repeatedly.
Last time it happened was in 2011.
But it uses requel elements and makes them the subject of its meta-commentary. Also up for discussion is so-called elevated horror, a serious contrast to the torture porn and cheesy slasher sequels discussed in Scream 4. Finally, the film touches on toxic fandom, the type of love for a property that turns into hatred when things don't go the way you want them to. Looking at you, some Star Wars fans. Scream 5 follows Sam Carpenter, a Woodsboro runaway who returns after a new Ghostface threatens her family. She's joined by new and returning characters in a film that pays constant homage to the series, from character relations to scene locations to replicating memorable shots. Some people thought it was too derivative, and sure, I would have preferred a few more surprises, but I understand the reluctance to be too drastically different. This is the revival of a beloved franchise, with new people in charge for the first time ever. There was probably a fear of pissing off the fan base, since these movies have always followed a formula.
A very simple formula!
I'm hoping Scream 6 will take some bigger swings, but in the meantime, Scream 5 is a welcome return to form. It's got a great pace, flowing from beat to beat seamlessly, and captures the same balance of humor and scares that the first film had. On top of all that, it's got some of the most brutal and bloodiest kills of the franchise, and it's my job to tell you how many there are, so let's get to them. The movie begins, all together now, with a phone call. The famous face picking it up this time is Jenna Ortega playing Tara Carpenter, named after Halloween creator John. Ortega's a two-time kill count veteran who TikToked her way into our hearts with Wednesday, but ain't no TikTok on this landline phone.
Hello? Is Christina there?
No, she's not available. May I take a message?
Yeah, sorry.
It's returning Ghostface voice actor Roger L. Jackson, with some extra voice acting as he starts with an unassuming stuttery delivery before smoothly sliding into Ghostface territory.
You love art and TV and movies.
Until finally, we're back to the classics.
What's your favorite scary movie?
We all know the beats of this conversation, but Jackson still makes it scary.
Would you like to play a game, Tara?
Tara's been texting with her bestie Amber, but Ghostface pulls a switcheroo and threatens to kill her friend, with a video showing them right outside her window. To save Amber, Tara will have to survive some stab trivia. But unlike the stab heads in Scream 4, this young horror fan isn't familiar with the series.
It was like super 90s.
She prefers so-called elevated horror, name-dropping movies like The Babadook and It Follows. She cheats on her test with IMDb, giving us plenty of Easter eggs, including the fact that in Stab, Stu Macher was played by Psycho 1998's Vince Vaughn. It also says Principal Himbry was played by Ron Howard, which is funny, since Howard became a household name as Richie Cunningham in Happy Days, acting alongside Henry Winkler, who actually played Himbry in Scream. Despite the crib sheet, Tara fails to name both killers in the original Stab. She runs to send out an Amber Alert, only to find a ghoulish Ghostface greeter. She hits him with her fist phone, and they ring around the rosy, until slashes, she falls down. The Casey Becker belly stabs, followed up with a broken ankle. Ouch! Then he stabs her in the hand, and raises the knife above his head. And you know what Jesus said next. Title card! Tara's estranged sister Sam gets a call about the attack, and we find out she survived. For the first time in the franchise, the opening kill wasn't a kill at all.
What?
Damn, that Tara is strong. This is an awesome subversion of the formula, mostly because it means more Jenna Ortega. Sam heads southbound to Woodsboro, with her the boy's friend Richie Kirsch tagging along. Unlike Sam, Richie isn't from Woodsboro. Since they don't get the Stab movies in District 1, Sam has to fill him in, saying they're slashers about a masked killer.
Sounds a lot like Halloween.
Alright, it's a little like Halloween.
Okay.
Woodsboro's looking good in 90s out here, even though the high school is played by a third building in the franchise. It's now Williston Middle School in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is where the movie was shot, filling in for California. Tara's friend group discusses her attack. Best friend Amber Freeman, whom Ghostface had been threatening via text, twin siblings Mindy and Chad, a horror nut and dreamy jock, respectively, Chad's girlfriend Liv McKenzie, an outsider to the group, who Mindy doesn't care for, and Wes Hicks, named after Scream's director Wes Craven. He's the justifiably paranoid one of the group, probably since his mother is Scream 4's Judy Hicks, now the sheriff of Woodsboro. As always in Scream, the fountainless friends waste no time accusing each other.
Tara said she fought back hard.
You've got bruises.
It's from football practice.
They visit Tara at the hospital and are with her when Sam arrives. Tara's happy to see her sister again, who left 5 years ago as soon as she turned 18. Sam's teenage years were troublesome after their dad abruptly left the family. She got into drugs and trouble with the law, including then Deputy Judy Hicks. It's a lot of backstory, but it'll tie into the original, just like a good requel should. Tara's friends are making a requel to a 90s Budweiser commercial when the underage drinkers get harassed by an overage stinker named Vince Schneider. He hooked up with Liv once and has been creeping around doing the obvious suspect routine. Chad's been itching to spin off his Fast and Furious fists into their own franchise.
Time to introduce him to Hobbs and Shaw.
But Vince brought a knife to this gun show, and it gets everyone kicked out. Bearded Skull's makeup effects handled the movie's gore, and also provided Vince's tough guy tattoos. Makeup department head Rick Poor helped make Vince a walking Easter egg, since he's tatted up with shoutouts to Craven films like Nightmare on Elm Street, Shocker, Red Eye, and Last House on the Left, as well as other slashers like Friday the 13th. Vince's screen time is brief, but he's made memorable by Kyle Gallner, another two-time kill count vet, whose 2022 also included Smile. The horror vet is worthy of a death scene featuring Red Right Hand, which returns to the franchise, playing from the speakers in his car while he's taking a leak. He turns off the music right before the song climaxes, but it returns non-diegetically as Ghostface stabs the Red Right Herring in the neck. And he deserved it for what he did to Veronica Mars. His capping off is capped off with a classic knife wipe. Back at the hospital, Sam gets a call from Dr. Ghostface, who says he knows her hidden family history.
Who is this?
Someone who knows your little family secret.
It turns into a house call, which sadly becomes the closest thing this movie has to a chase scene. The Scream films have always featured excellent chase scenes. It's a bummer this one drops that part of the formula. The face does follow the formula when it comes to disappearing though, and with such a direct threat against her, Sam decides to sit Tara down, or I guess she was already seated, for a Carpenter family candid. When Sam was a teenager, she found her mom's high school diary and learned that their dad wasn't her dad. Their unseen mom had cheated on their unseen dad in high school, got pregnant with another guy's kid. Mama Carpenter lied and told her father Sam was his, so he did the right thing and put a ring on it. When Sam confronted her mom about this, she accidentally revealed it to their unknowing dad, which caused him to leave their family that night.
I'm the reason he left.
It's a messy sitch, but the kicker is the identity of Sam's real father.
It was Billy Loomis.
This is a big swing from screenwriters Guy Busick and James Vanderbilt, who also produced the film and was the one who hired Radio Silence. He and Busick had both worked with them on Ready or Not. The writers reason that Scream has always been about Sydney and Billy's families. They continue that here with Sam being Billy's surprise daughter. I don't love this revelatory relation, but it doesn't bother me too much either. It feels appropriate for a requel, and it's no worse than Sydney's surprise brother. He still got to make his movie. Perhaps more questionable is the fact that Sam sees visions of her dead daddy Dearest.
How you doing, Sam?
The Force Ghostface is played by a marvelously de-aged Skeet Ulrich, who filmed all his scenes against a green screen in a single day near the end of shooting. His voice and appearance only required the slightest bit of digital adjustment, since the directors wanted to avoid uncanniness, and also because Ulrich just aged super fucking well. Tara is justifiably tired of the cloaks and daggers, so she tells her sister to get the fuck out. Sam does, then tells Richie he should get the fuck out as well, considering the danger he's in here. But this is Huey Campbell, girl. He's nothing if not loyal.
I'm staying. I love you.
The two decide to go to an expert, Woodsboro's ex-deputy, ex-sheriff, and now ex-husband, Dewey Riley.
It's been a tough 10 years for Duke.
He lives by himself in a trailer, adorned with pictures of dogs he's rescued. Oh, that's nice. He schedules his day around Gail's morning show, broadcast from New York. I love how legitimately happy he is to see her succeed. It's also nice to see he still thinks of his sister Tatum. It's a common criticism of the series that he never directly addresses it. They tried to rectify this in Scream 4, but the scene wound up being deleted.
Weird about that pet door frame around her neck.
My sister,
What?
Tatum. She was a victim in the original Woodsboro massacre.
Sam earns a ticket inside his trailer by telling him who her father is. Dewey's no Randy Meeks when it comes to horror, but he does know how to survive a stab or two.
Rule number 1, never trust the love interest.
He advises them to look into Tara's friend group, but when they ask him to tag along, they lose their QuickTime event and get kicked out of his trailer. Still, with another face ghosting around town, Dewey warns his friends. First is a happier, healthier Sidney Prescott, whom he hasn't talked to in years. She's married Mark McScreamy Kincaid from Scream 3, and the two of them have 3 off-screen kids together. I love seeing a successful Sid who agrees to stay away and keep herself protected.
I'm Sydney fucking Prescott. Of course I have a gun.
Neve Campbell was hesitant to do a Scream without Wes, but the director sent her a letter about how much Craven meant to them, and their reverence for the man and the movies convinced her to return. Dewey also hasn't talked to Gal in years, but when it comes to warning her, all he can muster is a text.
Probably shouldn't have sent the smiley face.
But after seeing a picture of him and Gal together, a real one of Arquette and Cox from when they were married, he decides he is ready to rumble after all, so he dusts off his old badge and gun. Dewey's theme plays as he joins Sam and Richie, just in time for an all-hands meeting at Chad and Mindy's house. Their uncle was Randy Meeks, and they've honored him with a home theater. Hope it got that Dolby Atmos at least. Their last name is Meeks Martin, a hyphenated surname of their unseen father and their mother, Martha Meeks, Randy's little sister, played by Heather Matarazzo, reprising her role from Scream 3. She's so funny as she welcomes them to the dollhouse.
Suspects.
She and Dewey share a hug, reminding us that they've known each other going back at least 20 years. The twins aren't this movie's only characters with a famous uncle. That Vince guy was Stu Macher's nephew through Stu's never-before-mentioned little sister. These ties to the OG Scream crew lets Mindy know what the killer's aim is.
Oh my god, he's making a requel.
She channels her namesake with a Meta Meeks monologue, talking about how legacy sequels have replaced remakes and reboots.
Black Christmas, Child's Play, Flatliners. That shit doesn't work. But you can't just do a straight sequel either. You gotta build something new, but not too new, or the internet goes fucking nuts.
Jasmine Savoy Brown does an exceptional job as this movie's Randy stand-in. She talks about how Stab fans, especially the ones on 4chan and Reddit, rebelled against the 8th Stab, directed by Rian Johnson. It's a reference to how his Star Wars film, Episode 8 The Last Jedi, pissed off a lot of Star Wars fans who said it ruined the franchise. This dialogue no doubt doubly serves as Radio Silence's own worries when it came to making a Scream.
To some people, the original is their favorite thing in the world. The movie that made them love horror.
That statement is true for me and for directors Bettinelli, Open, and Gillette. They never got to meet Wes personally, but they say Craven and Scream is why they make horror movies in the first place. Radio Silence wanted the new Scream to harken back to the original, but still feel like a modern movie in 2022. After getting Kevin Williamson's blessing for the project, they brought in more crew members who had worked on Ready or Not, like composer Brian Tyler and director of photography Brett Jukowitz. Jukowitz shot with Panasonic anamorphic lenses, just like the first 4 films, to preserve the franchise's look. A month after shooting Scream, he'd be in Wilmington again, shooting The Black Phone for Scott Derrickson. Mindy says that requel rules mean legacy survivors can die, and that Sam might be the killer. I mean, she is the one with a ghost-faced daddy. Sam takes off and reflects on the situation with a mirror-obstructing, bloodthirsty Billy boy.
Let's get out there, find out who's doing this, and cut some fucking throats!
Sheriff Judy's out on a drive of her own, picking up dinner for her and Wes. On the way, she gets a hands-free call from a hands-on killer.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I prefer animated films and musicals.
Well, that's a shame. She probably can't appreciate the Psycho reference her son is wallowing in. While I thought she was fine in Scream 4, Scream 5 makes me really appreciate Judy Hicks as a fun, well-developed character. Marley Shelton plays her perfectly as a competent and content suburban mom. It's hilarious that even her texting style is in character, as is the decoration of her home, thanks to set decorator Helen Britton. The periodic table of vegetables is so her. And on top of it all, she's still making them infidelious lemon squares. Ghostface threatens Wes, which is a good way to scare Judy. She treats him like a little bubble boy. She rushes back home to his aid, but Ghostface surprises her with some sugar and slice. I guess her suburb's just a little too sleepy, as this broad daylight brutalizing goes unseen. Man, the sun really bring out Ghostface's sparkles, huh? Inside, Wes is too busy providing eye candy to know about his recent orphaning. He's played by Dylan Minnette, Jack Shepard's son in Lost, and previously seen on this show in Don't Breathe, the good one. There's an enjoyably drawn-out sequence with lots of playful fake-outs, until Wes gets to the front door and Ghostface screams, "Let me in." Wes puts up a fight, but Ghostface kills him by slowly but surely winning the struggle with a knife stab that comes out the other side of his neck. Fuck! This movie's kills may not be super innovative, but man are they graphic. Good stuff. Sam arrives at the crime scene, as does Gal Weathers. She's back in Woodsboro, rocking a red tribute to her 90s look. They briefly bond over Judy Hicks's disdain for both of them, until Gal spots a certain ex-deputy poking around. Gal and Dewey's conversation clues us in about the past 10 years. When Gal got her show in New York, they moved there together, but Dewey only stayed for 2 months. He left her to return to Woodsboro, the reverse of their breakup between Screams 2 and 3. That was when Gal left Dewey because she couldn't handle staying in Woodsboro. Once again, it's a sad but believable fate for these characters who are as different as Night and later that night.
You just were meant to be in Woodsboro.
You were?
Filming this scene proved to be an emotional experience for Cox and Arquette, given how their long personal history is so intertwined with these characters. The first take was too tearful to use, on both the actors and the crew. Sam calls up Richie, who's continuing his stab research on YouTube with someone we all know.
That shit is
lit. You heard right. That voice was Matthew Lillard's, doing a vocal cameo as the flamethrowing Chrome Face. I'm just kidding. I was, of course, referring to how Kirby is confirmed to be alive in a suggested video. Hell yeah! Okay. The scene also features Chelsea and me in a cameo.
And don't even get me started on Ghostface's signature new weapon.
That shit is lit.
Chelsea even gets the meta joke about how Stab 8 was simply called Stab, just like this movie's title is Scream.
And can we talk about the title? Stab? What, just like the original? Just call it Stab 8. It's fucking Stab 8. You're not fooling anyone.
It's just such bullshit. We talked about it more in a podcast episode, but after a text from Radio Silence, we filmed this cameo on the previous podcast setup in our home. Then we sent it in and waited silently for months to see how it would get used. Again, coolest thing we've ever done with Dead Meat. We're playing fictionalized douchebag versions of ourselves on a channel called Film Fams. Decipher that for yourself. Dead Meat is listed in the suggested videos with a Ryan Johnson interview, alongside another video asking if Stu Macher is still alive, hinting at the aborted Scream 3 plot / current popular fan theory.
Will we see him again? I have no idea.
Sam realizes there aren't any cops at the hospital watching Tara. Shouldn't have trusted this guy to do it. I bet he left his post to go throw flyers all around town. She tells Richie to meet her at the hospital as she and Dewbear race to get there. They better hurry, since Sis is getting terrified among these empty hallways. Seriously, Woodsboro, y'all need to hire more doctors and nurses. Your hospital shouldn't look like a high school on a Sunday night. Not wanting to get super stabbed again, old Bloody Hands McGee wheels herself down the hall. I normally hate when horror characters are confined to a hospital. Cough, cough, Halloween's 2 and kills. But Tara is active enough to make it work. She finds the body of a police officer with a slit throat, gurgling and gasping as he dies out on the floor. She hides and hits Richie with a phone, dick, when he scares her opening the door.
She hit me with a phone?
Oh shit, then Ghostface is here! Taking out Richie, and, well, frankly, they don't need to do too much more to Tara. Ghostface activates their new mask-mounted voice changer so they can talk to Sam on Richie's phone. The older sis stalls them long enough to arrive so Dewey can provide cover fire. Unfortunately, Dewey's always been trained for torso shots. He's never been a huge fan of Al Snow.
Dewey, what? Hey!
When he remembers his Roman lesson, he sends everyone else down an elevator while he goes back to finish his 12-hour shift. Before Dewey can execute this possibly unconscious suspect, Ghostface strikes first with stabs to the gut and the back. No worries though, Dewster's been stabbed plenty of times before. Oh shit, wait, a kill graphic? Oh no, my eyebrow wiggling doom man. Say it ain't so!
It's an honor.
Oh, fuck! It is so! Damn you, Ghostface! Damn you, Ghostface! The horror heartbreak piles on as Gal goes through slow mourning. Sam offers her condolences, but it's Sydney who provides the shoulder to cry on, having returned to Woodsboro because of Dewey's death, and ready to go on the offensive to protect her family. God, I'm bummed that we never got one last scene with Sydney and Dewey together in person. Sam and Tara decide that the best way to survive is to
Blow this pop stand!
Good call. It worked for Joel the cameraman. Even though Sydney and Gal warn them that Ghostface will follow, Sam insists on taking Tara back home with her and Richie. On the way, Tara realizes she's missing her inhaler. Not wanting to be caught off guard in case of Pennywise attack, the trio detours to pick up a spare at Amber's house. She's having a third act party there, a memorial for Wes Hicks that doubles as a tribute to director Craven.
To Wes!
Vocal cameos abound here, layered together in that Cheers. Lillard, Bettinelli, Open, and Gillette are in there, as well as previous Scream actors Jamie Kennedy, Hayden Panettiere, Henry Winkler, Adam Brody, and Drew Barrymore, who lent her voice earlier to another audio cameo as the school principal.
A reminder that all classes and school activities are canceled tomorrow due to public safety concerns.
Other members of the Scream family include Kevin Williamson, composer Marco Beltrami, editor Patrick Lussier, Scream 3 producer Julie Pleck, and Scream 4 producer and Wes Craven's widow, Aya LaBunca. Finally, there's Ryan Johnson, in-universe director of the fan-maligned Stab 8. Johnson was supposed to make a larger cameo in a press junket parodying the fan backlash to The Last Jedi, but it was cut because of his commitment to Glass Onion. The party is rife with suspicious encounters. Amber and Mindy bump heads in the basement, and Chad refuses to bump uglies with Liv. It puts an end to any potential joyride with her, earning a sarcastic Siskel and Ebert from his sis. Chad eventually gets concerned when Liv doesn't come back, while Mindy's only concerned with watching Stab. In this case, never before seen to us footage of a party scene with an actor playing her uncle. The actor is Christopher Speed, as briefly shown earlier on the IMDb page. He's an unknown actor, unlike the rest of Stab's cast, which lines up with Randy's complaint in Scream 2.
You had Joe Blow nobody to play me.
Also, holy shit, I can't believe how well they match the clothing and appearance of these characters. Although that don't look like no Vince Vaughn to me. It does look like a film fail. Chad wants to check on Liv, but Mindy says he'll need more protection than his blue and yellow jacket, so he grabs a candlestick like this were Clue. Chad is played by Mason Gooding, son of actor Cuba Gooding Jr., and a fan of this channel, as we learned in an interview.
James and Chelsea, I'm such a big fan of you guys. You guys are so good, dude.
That led to him and his good boy Iggy being presenters at last year's Horror Awards. The Woodsboro leather jacket he wears is the same design worn by Steve Orth in the original. It was recreated by costume designer Emily Gunshore, who gave Liv a plaid skirt in an homage to Tatum's. Chad gets a request from Liv to share his location on an app they talked about earlier. He follows the ping into the darkness, where he's greeted with a stab to the leg by Mr. Ghostface. The Theismann Trophy winner beats down the killer and hides behind a shed, but when he makes a break for it, he's unable to complete the Casey Beck-athlon. As Richie, Sam, and Tara arrive, Ghostface makes mincemeat of Chad's obliques. Amber ends the party so she can grab Tara's inhaler. Richie helps speed things up, prompting a cry of party foul from Jamie Kennedy doing another VO cameo.
Somebody's goofy-ass dad is kicking us out.
The interruption also messes with Mindy trying to rizz up a cute girl, so she blows off Richie's request for company and allows him to break more horror rules.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Woodsboro and Sidstein are following a tracking device Sid planted on Sam's car. A lot of people thought the legacy characters were underutilized, and to some extent, that's true. But unlike Scream 4, this is an actual passing of the torch movie, meant to establish a new crop of main characters. It does that job well, and besides, Nev, Courtney, and David all make the most of the screen time they get. The legacy ladies reflect on the long path that brought them here, going all the way back to Gail's first book.
I started all of this. No, you didn't.
Yeah, no you didn't, Gail. It was
Billy
Roman
Loomis.
Bridger. Whoa, 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 Sid. Forgot about bro? That kind of amnesia earns you a film fail. I know Roman was a whiny bitch, but this is Scream 3 erasure. Huh, maybe this is a real requel. Sid realizes where the Carpenters have stopped their tour, and it looks like things have only just begun.
You're in Stu Mopper's house where your dad and Stu killed everyone.
It's a fun twist if you didn't see the trailers, though it bugs me that this is a set, not the actual location. I'll admit, I didn't realize it the first time I saw the movie, even after having visited the real house in person. But once I did, I couldn't ignore how tight all the shots were. Not even this big reveal pull-out shot comes close to matching the sweeping crane shots from the first film. Still, it's an impressively accurate reconstruction of the house that left the legacy cast members emotional.
I got a little teary, to be honest.
The only thing off that I noticed was the basement door. In the real house, and in the first movie, that had been a pantry where Stu and Billy were hiding Papa Prescott. They probably used a set to save money, since this movie's budget wasn't as big as Screams 3 and 4. I know that building a set sounds expensive, but it often saves money in the long run over shooting on location. On a set, you can rig things however you want to, with as many holes as you need to get the lighting right. The set was built by production designer Chad Keat, who took the recreation seriously, even hand-painting the kitchen tiles to match.
Down to the T, it's exactly the replica of the original.
He added bird art to the foyer in honor of Wes Craven, who was an avid bird watcher. The set helped everyone bond too. They watched the first film on the lawn as Radio Silence projected it on the wall. Production was described as having summer camp vibes, with the cast and crew playing deception games like Secret Hitler.
Some people would drop out at a certain point because they were like, they knew it would devolve into a shouting match. Like, I would just scream at the directors.
Returning to Stu's house gives us a meta-maximalist version of Randy's couch shot. Hell, the Meeks niece is even wearing the same colored outfit as Ghostface makes his move. Her self-awareness kicks in, and she actually turns around, giving Sam enough time to jump in and intervene. The supporting cast filters in, so accusations can start flying again.
Fucking killer! I know.
Oh shit!
Welcome to Act 3.
Talk about an explosive act break. Amber sent that nothing character back to oblivion. Outside, the cavalry arrives and arms up. You get a gun. You get a gun. That Amber chick, she gets a gun. Gail gets shot in the gut, again. So Cindy's forced to head inside this nightmare house from her past on her own. She takes a call from the killer, but Sid's nearly 50 and sick of this shit.
But you forgot the first rule of surviving a stab movie. Never answer the...
I'm bored.
Wait! Sid calls out for anyone there to leave, then opens fire into many a door. One shot hits Richie in the leg since he was hiding, but nothing a little compound V won't heal. Ghostface comes out and tackles Sydney over the railing, incapacitating both of them on the ground floor. She asks Richie to hobble his way towards the dropped gun, but, the way Richie's taking those stairs looks awfully familiar. Is that because, fuck, Richie's the second goddamn Ghostface!
It's a bummer it's me.
For the first time since the OG, the BF is GF, even though this one was way more of a goofy nice boy like Derek than Killy Billy, who wore his psychopathy on his short white sleeve. For what it's worth, I think Jack Quaid plays both versions of this character exceptionally well. He's hilarious as the nice guy supportive boyfriend, and scary when he snaps as the killer. Richie and Amber, who are also dating apparently, take the after party to the kitchen to recreate the ending of the original Stab. They're huge fans of the series, and even met each other on the Stab subreddit. They're more annoying about Stab than those film fails fuckheads.
How can fandom be toxic?
They're pissed about how their beloved franchise has turned out, and want to provide new real-life material it can adapt into another movie. They plan to pin their killing spree on Sam and her Loomis lineage. They bring in Gail from the front lawn and press a blade into Prescott. Oh man, quit stabbing Sydney, y'all! Amber goes to retrieve Tara, but instead gets a face full of crutch. Earlier, Sam had found her sister and untied her. In the ensuing chaos, Sam gets away with Richie chasing after her. Amber battles with the legacy characters in the kitchen, where Sid washes out her potty mouth with a face full of hand sanitizer. The Team Terror regains the upper hand and strangles Gail, then gets stupidly spitty as she confirms that she killed Dewey.
I can't believe I get to do you both.
Is it believable that this Ghostface is the 5'3" Amber? No, not at all. So yeah, I guess that'll earn this movie its third film fail. But whatever, man, Mikey Madison is an excellent Stu stand-in. She brings the same unhinged energy previously provided by Matthew Lillard and Timothy Olyphant. The fight heats up and Gail avenges Dewey by capping Amber's ass, unintentionally setting her ablaze for a fiery finish. The first fire stunt in Scream, alright! Radio Silence actually considered changing this scene since Madison has a similar fate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ultimately, they decided it was a funny coincidence and kept it in. Richie has followed Sam's blood trail upstairs, and though she manages to disarm him, her gut wound proves to be a disadvantage. If only there were a weapon that she could— Ah yes, a green umbrella, a classic! Oh wait, what's that, dead daddy? Oh yeah, a knife's probably better. Sam wipes away Richie's smug smile by shish kebabbing his cheeks. She proceeds to stab the ever-loving hell out of him. Seriously, I counted 21 stabs to the torso. That's one more than the amount in that kill at the end of Candyman. Richie stops her long enough to set up a one-liner.
What about my ending?
Here it comes. And a throat slit puts an end to his Vita. Sam punctuates the kill with a ghost-faced knife wipe, which would surely make her killer papa proud. That is one thing I don't love about this movie. The Ghost Billy stuff looks good, but it feels a bit too redemptive for a character who was interesting because of how evil he was. Sam's joined by her 4 sisters, and Sid barely has time to say they always come back before Sam's blowing brain bits all over the floor. Not concerning at all. Of course, we still have room for one last scare, in the form of a Freddy-fied Amber. Talk about a die-hard fan. She's killed by Tara with a headshot.
I still prefer the Papadic.
To what? Getting killed? Like, obviously. Mindy's wheeled out on a stretcher, having survived like Dewey did in the original. Even better, her twinsy Chad survived as well. Thumbs up for survivors. Right, Tara?
Take us to a different hospital this time.
Yeah, maybe one with people and flights. Sam says her goodbyes to her newfound gal pals, who should probably be getting medical attention. I mean, Gail got shot, Sydney got stabbed, and they've got those end-of-movie trauma blankets. I guess they'll be fine. Sam gives a parting glance to her non-canceled ghost dad before riding with Tara to the hospital. We zoom out in a recreation of the OG's final shot, with digital exterior extensions done by Redefine. The movie ends with one last tribute to the franchise's original helmsman, with bird sounds in the background. For Wes. How many bodies got dropped like the number in the title of this film? Let's find out and get to the kills. What? No, not the kills. The numbers, Zoran. The numbers.
Zorin, you must be dumber than your film fails character. If it's numbers you want, though, I'm happy to oblige. Eight people died in Scream, consisting of 5 men and 3 women. That's similar to but different than the original. Just how I like it. I may have gotten fewer kills than the last movie, but that's okay. There's always next time. With a runtime of 114 minutes, I hope to give you a kill on average every 14¼ minutes. You're welcome. I'll give the golden chainsaw for my coolest kill to Dewey. That guy's had his ticket punched for far too long. It truly was an honor to finally gut him like a fish. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Deputy Clay. Was that his name? I never really asked. And that's it. Scream was released in 2022. Next Friday, March 10th, I make like a Voorhees and take Manhattan in Scream 6. Until then, I'm the only true Ghostface. This has been the Kill Count.
Thanks a lot for watching this kill count, and thank you, Roger Jackson, for recording those lines. Holy shit, that was so fucking cool. He sent them in to me and was like, well,
saying things people already know out loud is tight. Reacting to these. The strength to carry on. Is that what this is? Look at that glorious sight. Look at all this order. I keep coming up with Slytherin video ideas, and I've noticed like a very subtle but sincere hesitance in my missus' voice when when I have these ideas. So I don't know what the fuck we're gonna find out about Voldemort and Slytherin in this movie, but I'm cautiously optimistic that everything's gonna turn out okay.
Nick,
Well, it didn't turn out okay for Dobby, that's for sure. Is that Hagrid's beach house? That's right, Luna's with him as well. Shit.
Probably don't remember that I showed you your vault the first time you came to Gringotts. Amongst Scotland's your famous name.
Him? Holy shit.
There's a sword in Madame Strange's vault identical to this one.
Oh no. Really?
A Hogwarts professor.
Welcome back to the comment section. I'm Brett Cooper. If there is one thing that has truly progressed over the last 3 years, it is people's weights. And if there is one thing that has stayed consistent over the last 3 years, it is the prevalence of the body positivity movement and contrary to popular belief. Those two things are intertwined. They do correlate, even though the body positivity people like to say, no, we're not promoting that. Actually, that's a lie. Some of them do just outright promote fatness. We're talking about obesity. Again. But before we get into that, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel if you've not already, because guys, we are so close to hitting 2 million subscribers, which is just insane to me. We literally just started the show 1 year ago. The fact that this community has grown so quickly is just mind-boggling. Thank you all for being here. Let's see if we can hit this milestone, and then after you click that subscribe button, make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you never miss a comment section or off the clock episode. Back to obesity. There was a Jerry News post yesterday that caught my attention. It says, obesity study. New research shows that obesity may increase the risk of death by as much as 91%. The caption reads, new research from CU Boulder found that obesity may increase the risk of death by anywhere from 22 to 91%. This means that according to the study's findings, excess weight is significantly more dangerous than previously believed. I don't know how we didn't think that it was this dangerous already, especially after going through COVID. Like, this seems like common sense. They go on and they say, the study also asserts that 1 in 6 U.S. deaths are related to excess weight or obesity. 1 in 6.
Doctor said I was too healthy. Now?
And these people are still promoting being morbidly overweight.
Don't even know how. Too good of shape.
They're still being on covers of health and wellness magazines and Sports Illustrated, saying that being incredibly obese, like objectively obese, is the pinnacle of health and what people should strive to. And even if they are not outright saying that, by promoting that body type and that lifestyle, that is what you are teaching young people, especially women, because it's all about women. Obviously, there are men that are overweight, but the people that are overweight that are put on the covers of those magazines is women. Like, those are the messages that we are sending young girls. Somebody commented and said, health at every size movement is about to be pissed. Another person said, water is wet. Another person said, okay, now make it easier for anyone to get healthy food so people can feed their family of 5 good food and not McDonald's. Well, funny that you brought that up, because the government needs to get the economy back on track so families don't have to worry about spending $10 freaking on a carton of eggs. And the government needs to stop being a predatory creep literally preying on the agricultural industry, because the regulations that they put on farmers are insane. The taxes put on farmers, also insane. And that impacts the price of your food and the availability of food. Directly correlated back to government. Anyway, I wanted to find source material, so I went to the CU Boulder report that they cited in that Jerry News post. Here it is, excess weight, obesity, more deadly than previously believed. This is from February 23rd of this year. Funny that they're calling it excess weight. I don't know if that's a medical term, but it does feel very politically correct as I'm reading it. Anyway, they say the findings, published February 9th in the journal Population Studies, count the prevailing wisdom that excess weight boosts mortality risk in only extreme cases. The statistical analysis of nearly 18,000 people also shines a light on the pitfalls of using body mass index, BMI, to study health outcomes, providing evidence that the go-to metric can potentially bias findings. Now, I'm totally fine critiquing BMI. I know that that is often a talking point of the body positivity movement, and they use that as the rationality for why science and doctors are out to get them and against them. But I don't believe the BMI really paints the most accurate or full picture of somebody's health, so this makes sense to me, it's totally fine. They go on and they say, after accounting for those biases, it estimates that about 1 in 6 U.S. deaths are related to excess weight or obesity. Quote, existing studies have likely underestimated the mortality consequences of living in a country where cheap, unhealthy food has grown increasingly accessible and sedentary lifestyles have become the norm. Wow! So maybe we should have encouraged people to get outside, go work out, eat cleaner for the last 3 years, rather than making them stay inside, take experimental medicine, shut down gyms, and turn their entire lives digital, where the way that they're getting food is via Postmates. They go on and they say, for groups born in the 1970s or 1980s who have lived their whole lives in this obesogenic environment, the prospects of healthy aging into older adulthood does not look good right now. I hope this work can influence higher-level discussions about what we as a society can do about it. I mean, it's crazy. This is common sense. But the fact that somebody is finally saying it and turning to people and saying, your life choices and what you have been doing and what the society has accepted and said is fine, it is literally making you die early. It is making it so that you might not live to see your grandchildren. Now, obviously, a huge part of this goes back to an individual's lifestyle choices and what they prioritize when it comes to their health. But also, as a society and culture, people have become so damn sensitive to the people around them, are too afraid to say, hey, your lifestyle choices are not healthy. We're too afraid to say that. So as a result, society is now just enabling and encouraging these unhealthy behaviors, and they have become the norm. And what this also tells me is that for Gen Z and millennials, there is still time to turn this around and figure it out. Like, there is still a chance, we are still young, we can fix this. But the thing is, this is the kind of media that we are consuming, and this is why we still have a problem. This was a really big trend like 2 weeks ago, and it was some of the most obese people I have ever seen doing little seductive dances. And people in the comments are like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, fat is so beautiful, yes, queen, body positivity. No, it's not. You can love the person. You can love their values and things that they stand for. But saying that that is healthy, that that is empowerment, it's a lie. It's an objective lie, but it's also terrible to tell that person because you were literally harming their life. Here's another one, like, this is the stuff that we see every single day.
Positive things about the fat experience, part 2. One of my favorite things about being fat is that we don't experience bloating the same way other people do. Even if I'm super bloated, first of all, you can barely tell, and then second of all, my clothes already function with weight fluctuation, so it's fine.
First of all, why is there a series that exists where you are trying to make the fat experience a positive thing? Nobody needs that. Number 2, being fat does not stop you from bloating. You are just so fat that people cannot tell that you are bloating. This is nothing about you. It's about how other people perceive you. No, your body is still like, oh god, I'm in pain. This is so uncomfortable. I need to go lay down. Nothing changes internally. To be honest, it's probably worse if you're fat. Here's another one. I mean, these videos go on forever, guys.
It really bothers me when fat people get this question: who wants to be oppressed? That's just a Republican talking point. It's null, it's void, nada. I love going into the doctor for any sickness, any ailment, and having it be either attributed to my gender or my weight or both.
Hey, that's not about you. That is not a direct attack. It is a doctor. Contrary to popular belief, the two sexes, they're very different. Our biology, very, very different. And contrary to popular belief, your weight does have an impact on your health and the type of medication that you can take, the types of surgery that you can undergo. That's not about you. It is about science. And I know that people don't like science these days, but it's fact. A equals A. This is objective reality. Get over it.
We don't want to be denied surgeries. We don't want to be denied medical care. We don't want people harassing us on the street. We don't want people to skate up with us just so it can get inside joke with ourselves. We don't want to be harassed online. We don't want to have no clothing options. It's that we are, and we're not going to shut up about it, because we want it to change and we want to stop being oppressed. Just because you don't see it from your privileged point of view doesn't mean it's not happening.
No, I was watching that video and I was like, girl, you are so close to realizing that you are in control. You are so close to seeing that this is not a good lifestyle. And then she immediately turns and blames it on other people. If you don't want to be oppressed, there's a very simple way that you can rectify your situation. But yelling at other people, I really don't think that is the easiest or most effective way to go about it. Alright, we have another video. I think this is the last one. I just literally cried on this one.
If that doesn't really point out how intense internalized fat phobia is, what will? I am constantly working on battling my own internalized fat phobia because if you look at fat phobia from...
Okay, you know what you should be constantly battling? Your own weight. You should be constantly in a struggle to be at the gym, to eat healthy, to maybe take a stroll and touch grass. That should be the internal struggle.
Repression is one, the ideology that fat people are not okay and that is morally wrong. Two, that institutions can use the effect of the medical system, education, healthcare, etc. Three, the interpersonal level, how we charge fat jokes. We continually talk about how fat people don't deserve certain things, etc. And four, the internalized, which is...
Oh my gosh. Bro, my heart is beating so fast. What the... Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh my goodness. I need to slow down my breathing. Alright. That's it. I'm done. Done for today. Done for today. Holy crap. Holy crap.